My brothers and sisters, may the Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. As Jesus was going up to Jerusalem, he took the 12 disciples aside by themselves and said to them on the way, "Behold, we are going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be handed over to the chief priests and the scribes, and they will condemn him to death and hand him over to the Gentiles to be mocked and scourged and crucified. And he will be raised on the third day." Then the mother of the sons of Zebedee approached Jesus with her sons and did him homage, wishing to ask him for something. He said to her, "What do you wish?" She answered him, "Command that these 2 sons of mine sit, one at your right and one at your left in your kingdom." Jesus said in reply, "You do not know what you are asking. Can you drink the chalice that I am going to drink?" They said to him, "We can." He replied, "My chalice you will indeed drink, but to sit at my right and at my left, this is not mine to give, but it is for those for whom it has been prepared by my Father." When the 10 heard this, they became indignant at the 2 brothers. But Jesus summoned them and said, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and the great ones make their authority over them felt. But it shall not be so among you. Rather, whoever wishes to be great among you shall be your servant. Whoever wishes to be first among you shall be your slave. And so the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." The Gospel of the Lord. Scholars, in looking at the authenticity of the gospel stories, often point to some of the statements that are made and the impressions that are given as a way to indicate even more so that it's authentic. Among the classic stories, of course, are those surrounding the initial announcement of the resurrection event, which is pivotal to our whole faith and the underlying reason out of which we end up following Jesus. And yet in a culture where women were seen as second-class citizens, the Gospels make it clear that the first witness to the faith was a woman, Mary Magdalene, and she in turn made it known to the disciples. Then we look at the disciples themselves, the first leaders of the church, and again, there would be kind of the feeling that maybe we have to make them look as perfect as possible, so as to show that the church has good leadership as a result of what Jesus chose. And yet as we hear the story of them given for us in all 4 gospel accounts, we see that they are weak men, just like we are weak. They have their idiosyncrasies and their failings, just like we do. And that even though that was the case, God could work through all of that and recognize what underlied that in their hearts and saw the potential and capabilities that were there if they allowed the Spirit to work. We get an example of that today in this little segment as Jesus moves towards Jerusalem in preparation for fulfilling that moment of salvation. We see a good mother coming forward, concerned about her sons, wanting the best for them. She very quickly suggests to Jesus, "Let them have the seats on each of your right and left in your kingdom." And of course, as all this is being said, the other disciples are listening, and probably initially were thinking to themselves, "Why didn't I think to say this? Why didn't I go up and ask for this?" And of course, as the story unfolds, and Jesus suggests that he knows that they will share the cup, but he can't give the places and position, we're told that the other 10 are all indignant. How dare you even ask such a thing of the Lord? And so we find in the course of the story of the gospel that, again, they have their own perspectives as to what the message is, how it should be fulfilled, who the Messiah should be. And even as Jesus keeps trying to remind them of the fact that their plan for Messiahhood is very different from the plan of God's, and what he will undergo is radically different from what they would expect. They just can't accept it. It takes a long time for that to sink through. And it's really only after the giving of the Spirit following Pentecost that all of it comes into complete sense. We sometimes in our own journeys as well think that we know better than God does, and we pray for certain things convinced that if only this were to happen, or I were to get this, or to achieve that, everything will fall in place. And when it doesn't happen, we get upset sometimes because somehow God's not listening to us and realizing what we know better. And of course, all of us as the children of God have to keep reminding ourselves that Father knows best. And it takes time for us to put that to our hearts to a degree. We actually open ourselves up to his will and his way rather than our own. Today then, as we gather again in this Eucharist, be mindful of the fact that those weaknesses and strengths that exist in each of us, God is more than willing to work with and patiently moves us through those moments in our life where we need to change, so that in turn, as a result of that, we are the better for it, and the church at large is the better for it.